Hey, kindergarten, let's talk about the quick practices for Unit 5. So, for lessons 1 to 3, we're talking about shapes. The goal of this is obviously 2D shapes, the simpler of the shapes, where students would just point, a student leader would point to one of these shapes and give kids a signal. And then when that signal is given, like let's say a hand or hand on our head or microphone, whatever it is that the student leader does, that triggers then the class to say what that name of the shape is. Okay, so if I use my pointer right now, I might just circle it and I might say, class, think about it, give them the microphone, and the whole class says circle. Okay, I could point to something like this and I'd say, class, think about it. And now there might be a couple of different terms. So in this case, they would count the sides 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And boys and girls could say, when the signal is given, a 5-sided shape. Okay, so now they might say, when you point to this, they might say it's a rectangle. They might say a 4-sided shape. So you could split it up. I think it's a little confusing to have kids choral respond to different things. So maybe you go through and say, just tell me the sides of the shape. So we would circle this one, class, a 5-sided shape. Okay, then maybe another time I go through, I might say, give me the name of the shape. Now, pentagon is not one of the known shapes in the standards, so I wouldn't expect kinders to know that it's a pentagon. So I wouldn't point to that one, but I would point to this one. What's the name of that shape? It's a square. But when I go through it the first time, I might point to it and say, class, what's this shape? A 4-sided shape. Okay, so we're getting them to count size. We're getting them to see to keep track of that, to practice the names of simple 2D shapes, so on and so forth. So let me erase those. And then as we keep going, you're going to get a few different slides with different shapes. Remember that one of the hard parts about shapes for kinders is that when they rotate, when they're different sizes, when they're different colors, kids oftentimes think the shape it changed. So even though we think, hey, yes, my kids know a triangle, well, really what they know is they know the equilateral triangle. They know when the corner is at the top or one of the corners is at the top and when all the sides are the same. When I show them this, all of a sudden they're not sure that that's a triangle anymore. So that's why we want to continue to work on attributes and say, oh, it's a 3-sided shape. Boys and girls, what's another name for this? Triangle. Okay, so the idea that a square, or this square could be considered a square, or it could be considered a rectangle. Okay, why is that? So all of those things, conversations can come out of this. But remember, the quick practice is really more for choral response. So we want to give kids think time. We want to give them a signal. Kids tell us what the shape is, and then maybe like at the end of the quick practice, do a couple of shapes where kids have some turn and talk dialogue, or they do some more justifying and they talk about the actual attributes of those shapes. Then we have, you'll see several of those here. And actually what I want to point out here is just notice that hexagon is one of the shapes that kindergarten is responsible for, but oftentimes they only see it like as a stop sign. They don't see hexagon in any other format. So notice that on this slide, they see different types of hexagons because they don't always look like this. Right? So that's an important part of the standard, is that kids understand the sidedness of it, that it's a 6-sided shape and that it doesn't necessarily always look just like this. Okay, so that's what you're going to do for this quick practice. You'll notice that that repeats itself for lesson 2 and 3. You'll have 3 slides to kind of go through. Kids just point to different ones. Student leaders do. You give a signal, they tell you what it is. When you get to lessons 4 to 13, now we're going to practice with the night sky. So here's the slide that we're going to use. You can see here at the bottom, we have our script. So boys and girls, I will name one partner. When I drop my arm, say the other. Now it could be, 10 equals 1 and the hands up. And when the student leader drops their hand, they give the signal. Again, it can be a microphone. It can be a finger on your nose. It can be any signal you want, but there does need to be a signal from the student leader, because otherwise kids don't know when they're supposed to respond. And then it gets crazy. This is not intended for Susie, and Susie gives an answer. We're really working on choral response here. Okay, so you made this teen display in your lessons. Now it's coming into play when we talk about our teen partners or our 10 partners. Boys and girls, 10 equals 1 and, thumbs up when you know, class, 9. Boys and girls, 10 equals 1 plus 9. Boys and girls, 10 equals 2 plus, think about it, thumbs up when you know, class, 8. Boys and girls, say it with me, 10 equals 2 plus 8. Okay, so you can delete those covers, then you can put them back on here. If you're just projecting this like under a document camera, instead of doing the slide, I would then remove all of those covers and then just put like sticky notes or pencil or something over them as students come up with what those partners are. Then they continue to work on shapes, but now it's 3D shapes. So the goal is the same thing. I'm going to point to this shape. Boys and girls, when I give you a signal, you're going to tell me the name of the shape. Now, you can do something like have all of your shapes, your actual foam shapes, put them in like a paper bag or another bucket that kids can't see through. The student leader reaches in, they grab a shape, they pull it out, and the whole class says, cube. Okay. And then the student leader can call in someone tell us a cube that's in the classroom. And maybe it's, a dice. It's the Kleenex box. So we are coming up with a real world example of what this is. We reach back in, we pull out a new shape, class, sphere. Okay, what's a sphere? So these slides that you see here are for additional examples of real world shapes. If students are struggling or you need to do this a few times before they start calling it out in the room, they at least have this. So what is this over here? They should say it's a cylinder. Boys and girls, what is the real world shape underneath it? A battery. How is a battery a cylinder? What do you see? What are the attributes of a cylinder? Okay, so that would spark those conversations. Then you can see we have lessons 5 to 13, same idea. So I know what are the partners, 10 equals, this is all the exact same thing. And then we have the 3D shapes, there's several different ones. Look in the note section because it'll tell you what lesson you use which slides. Then lesson 14 to 23, it changes again for quick practice because now you're working on prepositions. Okay, so move the pink cylinder in different positions. Students use position words above, below, in front of, over, before, and after. Boys and girls, where's the cylinder? Class, it's beside, it's next to, it's before the blue cylinder, right? So there's lots of different words we can use here. In this one, we can use these specific terms: above, below, in front of, over, before, after. Okay, so would we say it's above anything? No. Would we say it's below anything? Would we say it's in front of? Nope, it would have to be in here. It would be in front of the blue cylinder. What do we say if it's here? This is if it's before the blue cylinder, or if it's after the blue cylinder, if it's above, if it's below, or if it's in front of. Okay, so you're going to move this blue cylinder or this cylinder here to be in different places. Again, this could be where you use your real shapes if you're not using the slides. And the student leader could have something like this, and then they have to say what's happening here. Okay, is it before? Is it after? Is it above? Is it below? Is it in front of? Right? Students can have their own shapes. Okay, so this would be a quick practice where students are holding both of the shapes, and as the student leader gives directions, the students do that. So put the red cylinder above the blue cylinder. Okay, repeat after me. The red cylinder is above the blue cylinder. Okay, boys and girls, the red cylinder is below the blue cylinder. Would you show me how to put it below the blue cylinder? We'd wait for kids to do it. Boys and girls, say the sentence. The red cylinder is below the blue cylinder. So there's lots of variations of that quick practice, but you can see that the point is that they're practicing those specific prepositional words, and the slides are going to change. So as you go down here, you can see that we're going to use above, below, under, before, after, so that we've now added under. You can see here, same ones. They do start changing. Let me see if I can get some different ones here. I think that might just be it: below, under, before, and after. So then you get a slide like this. So if we get to lessons 14 to 23, you're going to do the prepositional words, okay, with saying the correct terms for the 2D or 3D shapes. And then you're going to do this activity. So this is the idea that students are supposed to be able to compose smaller shapes, different shapes, put them together to compose a larger shape. So we're going to help students see that. I'm actually going to grab my colors here, and I'm going to say, I'm going to outline or trace a big shape. And when I give you a signal, name the big shape that was made from other shapes. Okay, class, I give them a signal, and they're going to name what this shape is. So they might say rhombus. I'm not expecting that from kinders. I do expect a 4-sided shape. Okay, so what would you name this shape? Tell me 2 names of this shape. Okay, so I know it's made of smaller shapes. What's the larger shape? So we're getting kids to see that big shape as we trace it and see if they can name it, but they're seeing, of course, all of those shapes that are on the inside. As you continue to go here, you're going to see lots of different ones. I can see, you can even ask them, like, what are the shapes that make up this shape? Okay, and you can point to that shape. Class, what is this? Hexagon. Class, what is this? Triangle. Class, I'm going to trace it. What's the name of the bigger shape? And in this case, of course, we're counting the sides of those shapes. So my friends, that's the practice, the quick practice for all of those different days and slides. Just take note of what's in the note section of the slides, the script on the slides, and then use your own tools in class. But remember, it's about choral response and building fluency with these skills that we've already taught, but we know kids need to see it lots of different ways and lots of different times. Okay, enjoy.